So we are live now. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Empower Hour show. My name is Debbie Sherrick, and I am a holistic codependency coach. I'm the owner of Inside Out Wellness. Coach.com if you want to go to the website and look at some of the work I do. I do these Google Hangout shows once a month. However, you may be clicked on to the link of my Empower Hour page and not be watching from Google Hangouts, which is fine. You can watch that. So every month I use a topic. Sometimes I have a guest. Sometimes Laura does it with me. And we talk about topics that have to do with relationships, relationship with yourself, relationships with other people, relationships with your relationship with God and your spiritual walk. And so every month it's like a different topic. So if you do go onto my YouTube channel, the Empower Hour Show, I have many shows on there that I've done and many topics, and hope that it will help you in your journey of growing further in self-love and learning how to have healthier relationships. Because really, we all are on this journey of how to get healthier, how to remove toxins out of our body. And I had just put a post on Facebook before I started the show that this is the work that I've been doing for 25 years, inside out, learning how to get healthy inside out. So not only do I help people remove toxins physically from their body to help them to be healthy physically, but also teaching us how to remove toxins emotionally and mentally out of our mind, out of our bodies, because of the mind-body connection. If we have a lot of emotional toxic habits and behaviors, it will affect us physically because the mind and the body are one. So again, I just want to thank you for joining in on the show today. And I wanted to do this show, I always pray about what topic to do, and sometimes people will send me suggestions through Facebook or email through my website on, could you do a show on this? I really want to know about this. And so I just kind of let Spirit lead. And I really, this month, sometimes I go by what my clients are going through. So there's, sometimes there's a wave of things that everybody seems to be going through. And so one of the things that we notice in codependency behaviors and in unhealthy relationships, that we tend to have a lot of toxic habits and behaviors that we continue to do. And that saying of trying to do the same thing over and over and expecting different results is really insanity. And so today we're going to talk about some of those habits and behaviors that we just keep doing. They're like stuck in our subconscious. They're behaviors we've learned since childhood. We've done them maybe all our life, and we're just hitting a wall all the time, or we're on that hamster wheel where we just keep going round and round and round and round, and nothing is changing. So today show is going to be, I hope and have prayed that it will be a show about awareness, that you will have some awareness and say, yeah, that's something that I do. That's a habit, or that's a toxic behavior that I keep doing in my relationships and my relationship with myself. So I hope today that maybe you'll see some things. I want to say too that as we talk about this today, that I will be talking about some solutions, but it will be, I can't go into length about how to work on those certain things, because some of those are very lengthy about some of the instead strategies that you might do. And some of these behaviors and habits are things that I might be working with clients on for a long time, many weeks, on how to change their belief system towards that habit or towards that behavior. So we'll just be talking and throwing some things out there. I also just thought about that in realizing some of the behaviors that you do, you can also go on to my website, and I have a questionnaire on there. It's under my codependency page, and there it is, an assessment form, a questionnaire of 21, I believe it's 21 questions, asking yourself how you rate in these particular behaviors. And you rate yourself from 1 to 5, 5 being the most and 1 being the least. and see just where you are on some of these behaviors. And so it's a great, I always have clients do that, fill it out and send it to me before I start working with them, because it helps me to kind of assess where they're stuck and what they keep repeating. So I would like at this time to introduce my partner, my guest today, Laura, Bliss Finder. Laura, hi.
Hi, Debbie. So happy to be here with you always.
Yes, and I love Laura. Laura is the founder and the owner of Yoga Bliss here in South Florida, and she is really good with talking about some of these topics, and also a great yoga instructor in dealing with energy and motivation and helping people shift energy, and she's really good with meditations and spirituality. So I love having her a lot of times on the show. She's also my virtual assistant. So Laura and I work together all the time, but I love to interact with her about some of these topics. And also Laura will be ending our show today with a beautiful letting go meditation, as we purposely have the intention today to let go of some of these behaviors and some of these habits that we have. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on our topic today. So let me ask you, Laura, and during our show today, you know, we like our show to be really casual. I do it at the lunch hour. It seems to work out for some people that you're just wherever you are. You might be in your car, you might be, you know, having lunch quiet somewhere, you might be at your home, just sitting back and being relaxed, where you can really listen and think about some of the things we're talking about and saying, and just have this be a very safe place for you to reflect and for us to talk about some topics that sometimes are uncomfortable. So, Laura, as we talk today, let me just ask you so we can engage our audience. When you think about in your own life, when you think about toxic habits or toxic behaviors that have tripped you up, and you know, we're really talking today, we are sticking to the topic of how these toxic behaviors and habits have affected our relationship with others and our relationship with self. So what have you had to work through? I know personally, you know, I know you personally, so I know some things, but why don't you share with our audience some of the things maybe that you've had to process on your journey and work through of letting go of some things that were harming you?
Yes. I'll start with doubting myself. So I just had some constant words going through my head every day that I didn't feel good enough to do something. And I was constantly doubting what I was saying, constantly doubting myself and all that I did. And it really held me back from being the best version of me I could possibly be. So I constantly work on empowering myself with mantras and through yoga and through meditation, constantly working on accepting myself, my flaws, my talents and all. That's a constant work.
For all of us, yes. And that, let's go ahead and talk about that. You know, yesterday, or you know, through the week, as I was coming up thinking of behaviors and habits, and I was making note. And so yesterday I was writing everything down in a Word document so I could print it out for today's show. And, you know, as I was writing some of these toxic behaviors and habits, you know, as I was thinking about them, some of the things I've dealt with in my own life, I deal with clients, you know, the list, I could have gone on and on and on and on and on. And so today we, you know, have prayed that the flow, you know, the spirit would just flow our show today, that what needed to be talked about would be talked about. So as Laura talked about self-doubt, that's one of the things that I had put on the list, and how I had labeled it was our self-talk and the habit that we have of putting ourselves down and how we think about ourselves. And that's a huge one for people who have dysfunctional and unhealthy relationships, and when we, especially with ourselves. So let's talk about that first, the damage that we can do, because we know in our healing and in our recovery that the very first thing that we work on, that we must work on, is our relationship with ourselves. Because until we come to really, really accept and love and respect ourselves and have confidence in ourselves, not beating ourselves up all the time, but really coming from a healthy self-love and acceptance of who we are, with our flaws, with our virtues and our good points and all of our character defects and everything about us, the totality of us. When we finally accept that, and I think the key is seeing ourselves through the eyes of God and how he looks at us and how he sees us, which is a totally different perspective than what we can have. And so that has to be first. So if you have the habit of insult to injury, like constantly criticizing yourself in your thinking, calling yourself stupid, calling yourself dumb, doubting and questioning everything you do, that is a habit that really needs to be worked on, and paying attention to how you think, because how we think is how we are going to feel, and how we feel is how we're going to act. So it's think, feel, action, think, feel, actions, or think, feel, manifestation. How we think, how we feel is what we're going to manifest. You want to talk about that, Laura, for a minute?
Yeah. I think
I know you're all about manifesting.
Yeah. Louise's book, You Can Heal Your Life, completely changed my way of thinking and completely changed my life, honestly. I didn't even notice that I was being so judgmental and critical of myself until I read her book, and I started practicing the affirmations, constantly saying to myself, I love and accept myself exactly as I am, where I'm at that time. And once you put yourself in that loving place, there's so many things that will come your way. People will come into your life and help you out. And the manifesting just happens. It's really about letting go and surrendering to what's available to you when you're in that space of acceptance and love. So when you're constantly criticizing yourself and doubting yourself and others, you're putting up resistance to what you can manifest.
Yes. And that's a habit that I didn't even write down, but so true, is that the habit of constantly being in resistance.
Yes.
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
Because it just blocks everything that we're wanting to attract into our life when we are resisting things and resisting behaviors and all. And when I love that book too. I refer to that book. I recommend that book to clients all the time. It's on my bookshelf. In fact, I have two. I have one in my office, one in my bedroom. I love that book. And when we talk about that, and you said how that changed your life, and you mentioned about on the inside, and I am such a big component about changing ourselves from the inside, and it's why my business is named Inside Out Wellness, because so many of us, myself included, for many years, looked on the outside for me to feel whole and complete on the inside. And there were many ways that I did that. We all have different things that we do. We want behaviors of others to change on the outside so we can feel better. We want to be in control on the outside so we can feel better. We want to, we feel like if we can have this particular person in our life or this particular relationship, if we can just make that work, things will be okay in our life. If we could just have enough money, if we could look good, if we could have that new house, it could be many things. People will use religion, people will use sex, people will use many things on the outside to fill that incompleteness on the inside, and it just never works. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and the work must be done on the inside. It's an inside job. Once you start doing that inside work, then things on the outside start changing, and you're not having to work so hard to make them happen and to cause things to manifest. They just start manifesting when the inside work is done, when the thinking changes, when you see yourself different, when you have a different perception about yourself and about others and about your life. When all that inside stuff starts changing and the thought process, then things on the outside come to you that you want and start manifesting. And that's how it works. So yeah, that's a good one, is you're letting go of how you speak to yourself, how you see yourself, how you think about yourself. And one thing about that is to realize that that also comes from a root of shame. When we grow up, if you grew up in a lot of shame in your family of origin, which all of these habits, toxic behaviors and habits, do come from the root, from our tribe, from our tribal family, our family of origin, and how we learned these basically by the age of 7 or maybe into the age of 10. So we have created and believed these belief systems that are false in our brain that are causing us to act out in these ways. And that's what we have to work on, is changing that belief system, and it's a process. So let's go on to another topic. One that I had written down was a habit that people do, and I will hear this often. I'll hear women say, you know, I don't know what it is, but every relationship that I have, the guy is just such a jerk and is not available or not there for me. I attract all these toxic men and all these dysfunctional relationships. So that's something I wanted to first of all bring up, is that if that's a habit of yours and that's something that you repeatedly have done for years, is that you have attracted toxic dysfunctional relationships, and maybe you are in one right now, and so it becomes a habit to stay in those. And so let's talk about that for a minute, the habit of that and why we do that. Do you want to say anything about that, Laura, before I go off on that?
Well, I'll say a little something. Okay. I'm very really now. I'm married to an amazing guy, and he supports and loves me. But in the past, I chose guys that were unavailable to me, and I kept having to prove myself, or I just didn't that I do now. And then you have to change yourself, just like I said before, change your thoughts and acceptance of yourself before anyone else can love and accept you. I think that's all I've got.
When I hear this, and am I echoing?
Yeah, I think I was echoing. You're okay.
Okay, step back. When? Oh, that drives me crazy. Can you hear it echoing, Laura?
No, not anymore. I heard myself echoing, but you're okay.
Oh, okay. As long as it's just on my end, I don't care. As long as it's not being recorded. So if I start echoing, repeating, let it and tell me.
You just sounded echoed.
I did. I really don't know what to do about it.
We can mute it for a second and turn it back on.
Okay. Let me try that.
That mute microphone on the top.
Yeah, I'm looking for my microphone. Okay, is that any better?
Yep.
Okay, good idea. That's why you're my virtual tech. That you help me get rid of all these things. Okay, so when we're talking about dysfunctional relationship, toxic relationships, and when people say that, and I say the same thing. I used to say that I wore a sign around my neck, all assholes this way.
Yeah.
That I could walk in a room of 100 men and I would attract the most dysfunctional one, until I realized, all, through my recovery and all about energy, and about that it was all about me and what I was attracting. So if you tend to be doing that, one of the first things that you've got to be looking at, is taking responsibility that that is not just happening to you, that there is a reason that you're attracting that. And that it all begins with you taking the responsibility of your part in the relationship, and what is it about you that is attracting these types of relationships, and starting to work from that. And that all also begins from your belief system, and your belief system about you, and how you believe that you should be treated. And so I always say that, we teach people how to treat us. Our relationships are our biggest mirror to our inner self. And so don't shoot the messengers. Some of our most painful relationships, I know it was for me, my most painful relationship was my greatest messenger, my greatest teacher, that I grew the most. And so I'm very grateful for him today. There was a time where I just hated him and wanted to shoot him, and thought he was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Today, since I know my truth today, I know that he was a gift to me, to teach me, to help me learn about myself and grow. So again, the healthier we get on the inside, the more we learn to love and respect ourselves first, and treat ourselves the way we would like others to treat us. Then we will attract people who will reflect that back to us and start treating us with the same love and respect. So that's kind of a little nutshell about that. And of course, it goes deeper in work in doing that. The next habit and toxic behavior I want to talk about is the habit of anger and rage, because this is a pretty common one also when we haven't done a lot of work. So let's say that you're someone who has a habit of going from 1 to 10 really quick. And it might be something very insignificant. And, we've heard before that people say, or psychologists say, that if you have trouble with road rage, it's not about the cars in front of you or the people that can't drive on the road. That road rage is a deeper issue. And it's the same if you are someone who tends to get angry very, very easily, who tends to fly off the hook really quick, and can go from 1 to 10 over very insignificant things. And if that's a habit that you have, know that that anger is old stuff. It's not, we tend to want to think it's about that situation right there, that person said something or that person did something to really piss us off, and that we just flew off the handle, and then we want to blame them for, us getting angry. But when you are someone who gets easily angered like that, it's really, really deep, deep, deep old stuff. It's old anger and old rage. Laura, I think you and I were kind of the same in working through some of this, because my thing was, I grew up with someone like that. My father was like that, a rageaholic. I had a husband like that. And so that's something, I can't handle being around people that do that. It really makes me uncomfortable. But I had trouble. Mine was the opposite. I had trouble not being able to express my anger, because I had so much anger in my home growing up, violence and anger in the home, that I stayed away from anger. And so when I first started in my healing and recovery, and you might be, I feel led to say this today, you might be someone watching the show or listening to this or watching it later on YouTube that has trouble getting angry, that you have a hard time feeling angry. And so look at that, because anger is an appropriate emotion. Even God says, be angry, but sin not. So it's okay to get angry over things that are, not righteous or unrighteous behavior, or when someone has hurt us badly or done something to us. Anger is appropriate, but not to go back and hurt others or rage on others and handle it in an inappropriate way. But what a lot of people do when they're afraid of anger, or they grew up in anger, or they feel like anger is not an appropriate emotion, that it's sinful or it's wrong to get angry, then what they will do is turn that anger inward, and they suffer from a lot of sadness and from a lot of depression, because depression really is anger turned inward. So when I started really dealing with my anger, and I was asked to do that, and my coach, Coda Coach, helped me to do that. I was just like this bubbling volcano, coming out. This old anger was just starting to come out of me that I had had for so long, but I had stuffed it down into sadness, which really made me low energy, depressed, didn't want to do anything. I was like stuck in non-action and non-motivation. The other thing about anger is when I finally started getting in touch with my anger and with the situation that I was in at the time, anger can be a great motivator to help motivate you to make the right decision for yourself. If we're always staying in sadness and feeling sorry for ourselves and on the pity pot, we don't usually move forward in that position and make a decision. We're just stuck in the pity pot. And so that's a way that anger can be used in a healthy way. And if you're someone who deals with anger and rage like that you tend to go from 1 to 10, and it's a habit that you have of flying off the hook. I give a lot of good tools on how to handle that, because it seems like it's something that comes up in my work a lot. But one of the things is very important for you to write anger letters, with whoever you're angry about in the past. Get it out of you. It's very important to move that energy, because emotion is just energy and motion, emotion. It's energy and motion in the body, and we need to get that moved out and move it, have the motion come in out of the body. So lots of things can work that pertain to the body and moving anger. I used to, when I was dealing and I didn't know what to do with all this anger, I was running at that time, getting up at 6 in the morning before the kids got up, or maybe even earlier, I don't remember, putting my shoes on and running in the neighborhood. It was still dark, just starting for the sun to come up. And I would run and I would holler and scream out of my body to get the anger out of my body. I hear you laughing, Laura. And it was a way for me to just move that anger, to holler, my neighbors probably thought I was crazy. There was that crazy lady screaming down the road, but I didn't care. Because it was a way for me I would run fast and I would just scream and holler to move that anger. Another thing is like throwing a ball against a fence, getting a bat and beating a chair, getting massages and moving anger out of the cells of the body. There's also a lot of good essential oils helping to remove anger. I also use a lot of herbal formulations, Chinese herbal formulations, because anger and resentment sit in the seat of the liver. That is the body part. And so these combination Chinese formulations will help move that qi, that energy, out of the liver, and can help deal with the anger. So there's lots of different ways holistically and mentally to deal with anger and the habit of raging. Do you have anything to say about anger and rage, Laura?
Yeah, just adding to the tools, I don't want to forget, Kundalini Yoga has some amazing short, fast exercises and breath work you can do to get rid of anger and kind of transmute your energy from that sadness, depression, or low energies, anger, to your truth. Releasing that. So Kundalini exercises I would look up. There's one where you make a claw with your hands and you really activate your arms and you cross over your head. You inhale, exhale for like a minute or two. Also with anger, I stuffed my feelings down for a long time and did get depressed. And it is a great sign to know that you're doing something that's not useful for you. So it's the time to change. So when you're feeling that unstuck energy and you feel angry or sad or depressed, you know that you need to move out of that and make a change.
Mm-hmm.
So through dance, I do that. Through hot yoga, it's a great way to cleanse your body. Or vinyasa yoga is amazing. Moving your body and having the affirmations in your head while you're moving is one of the tools I love the best.
Yes, those are all great. You know, there's so many wonderful, beautiful, holistic modalities that we can use to shift. Breath work is amazing for shifting energy and releasing energy and letting go. I love doing letting go breath work with clients when things are stuck in their body. You know, the Chinese also, they call people that are really overweight or obese, they say that they have stuck chi.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a lot of, stuck emotion in the body that it needs to be released. And so I find that a lot when I work with emotional eaters or people that are overweight, weight loss, that it's also a combination of not just putting the proper nutrition and products in the body and exercise, but also a lot of times they won't lose that weight if they have unresolved emotion in the body, unresolved anger, unresolved sadness and depression, things just stuck energy in the body, that once that starts releasing and them letting go of that, the weight starts falling off. So, you know, that's the beauty of holistic work, is that we are mind, body, and spirit, and that it all blends and fits together, and we need to be working on all three of that. So, and the next one I want to talk about that's really big with codependent behavior is people pleasing. And so I'm going to kind of combine, I had written down people pleasing and rescuing, and they kind of blend together. So I want us to kind of talk about those today. We'll kind of blend them together and talk how one flows into the other. So first of all, let's talk about if you have the habit of people pleasing. And boy, I tell you, if you're a people pleaser, always trying to please everyone around you, in your home, in your relationships, in the workplace, your friends, being a people pleaser is really draining. Yeah. It just drains you because it's a never-ending thing, because you can't please everyone. And so one of the reasons that this shows up in codependent behavior and relationships is because we want to people please because of many different reasons. Maybe how we grew up was trying to, that it's a learned behavior and a learned habit, that maybe you had a parent that you were constantly trying to get their attention and their approval. And so you wanted to please them with every aspect that you could. And that's what you did as a child, was constantly trying to please your parents or one of the parents to get that love and approval that you were not getting. Maybe thinking they would be more available to you if you tried to please them in everything they do. However, the negative of that is that when we are trying to please others, we're not pleasing ourselves a lot of times, and we're not taking care of ourselves. So I always encourage, we need to learn, let our yes be yes and let our no be no. Speak our truth and have emotional integrity about what we're really feeling, what we really need, what we're really, and there's a lot of fear a lot of times based around that. My motto, it's on my website, I put it all over social media, hashtag all the time, to thine own self be true. Because that really is at the core of healing of codependency, is that when you start healing the shame and the not good enough, not feeling good enough, it's about being true to yourself, because we spend our lifetime, or many years, we spend not being true to ourselves, pleasing others. We're always wanting to please others. So let's talk about some of the ways, maybe, Laura, that why we people please, why we walk on eggshells trying to please others and not upset others, or that we don't know how to say no to people.
Right.
Right.
This is a huge one for me, and not until I faced the truth that I was people pleasing, I felt so drained after every day, because I love for everybody to be happy, and I want everybody to feel good. And I think I went through a period where I would have people ask me a question and I would say no. I worked on saying no because I was a yes person. Yes, sure, I'll do that for you. Yes, I'll help you there. Yes, yes, yes. And it drained me and exhausted, and I wasn't living my truth. Mm-hmm. So that's a great exercise. Just work on, telling people no. People do it because they want everyone to feel good, and they want to feel accepted and loved and respected. But the truth is, if you're not honoring yourself, it goes back and bites you in the butt.
Yes. Well, what happens, I find, and I know what happened in my life, is you get to a place, you get to a certain age that you find that you don't have anything else to give. Because you've been giving and people pleasing everybody around you, that you're burnt out. So let's talk about some of the reasons for awareness why we do that. And people say, I don't know why I want to please everybody all the time. I don't make time for myself, which is another thing about putting everybody else's needs before your own, which kind of falls into people pleasing too, is that we don't feel that our needs are important. And so we tend to take care of everybody else's wants, everybody else's needs, because remember that the core of codependency is not really about that you can't have healthy relationships. That's one of the symptoms. But the core is a lack of relationship with self, that we don't have a healthy self-love relationship. And so when you come from that and you are not whole like that on the inside and don't have a good relationship with yourself, it is going to flow out and show up in every area of your life, in all your relationships. So it's about us developing, first of all, as I said, a good relationship with self. So some of the reasons that people please, and always wanting to meet everyone else's needs before their own, a lack of caring for themselves, is that they're afraid that if they don't please the other person, maybe the person will leave them. So think about that in your life, that if you came from maybe rejection, a lot of rejection and abandonment in your home, you will tend to be a people pleaser because you don't want to feel that feeling of being rejected or abandoned again. Maybe you're afraid if you're not people pleasing that person or people, that they will withdraw love from you. And so look at, where does that come from? What is the root of that? Why am I so afraid of losing that person's love? What will happen to me? What will that make me feel? What is my fear? And so really, people pleasing is a form of wanting to be in control. And because if I can people please and walk on eggshells and make everyone happy, that they'll like me, they'll love me, they won't leave me, I won't have to deal with any conflict. And that's another reason people can't handle confrontation or conflict, and that can come from how you grew up also. So look at the reasons of why you do that, and then you can start attacking and addressing those reasons to get those healthier, because it's really not a good thing to be walking around in fear all the time, where we're afraid that someone's going to leave us, or someone's not going to like us, or we're going to upset someone, and that all comes from shame too. That always comes from a lack of self-esteem, that we need people to like us. We need people to love us so we can feel okay. The other thing is also that codependents need to be needed. if they are needed, they feel loved. And so if someone needs us to always be there for us, and we can be their savior and we can be their rescuer, then it makes us feel loved. And so we get confused between need and love. It's impossible to take care of your own feelings and your own needs and someone else's at the same time. It's just impossible. You're like on the fence. You say, well, I have my needs and my wants and my feelings over here, but then I don't want to hurt their feelings over here, and I'm afraid how they're going to react, and I don't want them to be upset with me. So then you're placed with a choice whether to honor your feelings and what you need or yourself to take care of you, or people pleasing the other person. And it really bites you in the ass in the long run, as you said, Laura, because people that you are constantly pleasing and walking on eggshells and jumping for, and you know, those people, it shows such a lack of self-respect when you do that you have no boundaries, lines. And so people end up disrespecting you for that anyway. You know, again, when you're not respecting yourself, you're not teaching others to respect you too.
Yeah.
Let's go into, we talk about people pleasing. I said it kind of flowed into the habit, the toxic habit of rescuing others all the time. You know, that's a biggie. That's a biggie for codependent behavior, is rescuing others, especially those that have been involved with addicts, those who've had people in their life that need fixed. And a lot of people will attract relationships where the other person needs fixed. If you grew up, you know, in a home where there was an unavailable parent or an alcoholic parent or dysfunctional parent, workaholic, whatever that was, that they were unavailable, you will tend to, you know, when you spend a lot of energy trying to get the love and attention from that parent, you will tend to repeat that in your relationships, finding someone like that so you can repeat the story. That's the belief system, and get them to fix them and rescue them to be what you want them to be. And boy, that is huge in relationships, is, you know, trying to rescue and enable people. That is a huge habit, and I even want to go as far as saying it's an addiction. I was working with a client last week who was saying it was pertaining to a family member who's an addict, and she's really working very hard about not rescuing this person, and she's really going through withdrawals of not running to them, not helping them, not picking up the phone, and this other person is used to her rescuing them. So when we stop doing those behaviors, when we stop rescuing and we say, okay, I'm getting healthy, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm going to start, you know, changing that behavior and that habit because I know it's not healthy, you can trust the other person who you were rescuing and enabling to up the ante and get a lot of backlash from them and manipulation, because they don't want to change the system. They want to be rescued. They want to be enabled. They want you to take care of them. That's how the relationship has been set up. So sometimes people will go through a lot of withdrawal, wanting to rescue and enable the person that they care and love about. And they will even say, but I love them. I'm just doing it because I'm loving them. But really, we're keeping the other person from their consequences. We're keeping them from being able to get healthy and grow. What do you want to say, Laura, about when you're constantly rescuing someone, how it affects that person?
Yeah, the other person stays stuck in the same pattern over and over again, and it's really unhealthy for them. They'll never, like you said, grow and change and live their truth, because you're constantly rescuing them. You're constantly enabling them to live lazy, kind of like, oh, you're going to help me, so I don't need to fix this. I can stay in this victim mode, victim mentality, and everything's going to work out.
Yes.
in reality, it's a nasty cycle, and it's got to end at some point. And it does take a lot of courage and strength to make that change, and it's going to feel uncomfortable and uneasy at first. But I just went to a meditation workshop this weekend with Rolf Gates, and he gave this example. If you go like this, if you clasp your hands together and squeeze really hard, as hard as you can, it's really not sustainable. You can't do this for hours and hours, right? But if you bring your hands in prayer like this, you can do this every day and feel at ease. You know what I mean? So you want to find that middle ground of between pushing, or standing still. You want to keep flowing.
Yes.
So if this is happening constantly, it's not going to be sustainable.
And that's a great analogy picture. I love that, because codependent relationships are like this. They're so enmeshed like this. You don't know where one begins and the other ends. And yet this is, you know, being two individuals in a healthy togetherness and being able to come apart also and have their own individuality and able to come together again and come apart and come together. And when we are constantly rescuing someone and helicoptering them, the message we're giving them that we have taught them is that you're not capable of taking care of yourself. You don't have the tools, you don't have the strength to do that, so I need to do it for you. So that's the message that we really give them, and it keeps them from growing up emotionally and taking care of themselves. So check that. Start practicing letting go and letting God. Start practicing live and let live. Let others live their life and have their consequences, and start looking at what is my need? Why do I feel the need that I need to be the savior and rescue this person? And that all comes from also a habit of wanting to be in control. So that's another habit to let go of, is if you feel the need to be in control of situations and people all the time, the root of control is fear. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of that you're not able to let go and let God and trust the universe? Trust God to work in that person's life. Trust God to work in the situation for the highest good, that you feel the need to do something and control that. And ask yourself, what am I afraid of when you're wanting to control and being able to let go? I know that was a huge one for me growing up, because in the alcoholic home and being the oldest child, I grew up trying to control the atmosphere of the home, trying to control the alcoholic to not be abusive, trying to take control of my mother and my siblings, that I felt that it was my responsibility. I had this super responsible feeling as a child, to be this little adult, that I was responsible to try to keep my family quiet and sane so the other shoe didn't drop, and there wasn't dysfunction in the home. And so when you grow up like that, you've learned that I need to be in control of things so I can feel safe. So another reason, if you have the habit of wanting to be in control all the time, it's about safety. What are you afraid of that you don't feel safe? And what's it going to take? What do you need to take care of yourself to feel safe? So let's move on, because of the sake of time, because we want to get our meditation in. And this is one that we must talk about today, because this is huge. This could have really been talked about first, because this is really paramount in when we're talking about unhealthy relationships and codependent behavior, is the habit of playing the victim in situations and in relationships. That is a huge toxic habit. It also has been called in many circles that it can be someone's choice of addiction is to be a victim. It's something that people can get very comfortable in. They don't even know they're doing it, but it's really huge when we're in situations that are very uncomfortable to us, and the person is very dysfunctional, and we're wanting so badly to we're waiting for them to get healthy. We're waiting for them to grow. We're waiting for them to get it. We're waiting, and we're doing everything we can to try to get them to get that way in our code of behavior. And so we then play victim of, look what I'm having to live with. Look what he's doing to me. Look what she's doing to me. Look what she said to me. Look what he said to me. Look at how I'm having to live. Look at my finances because of this situation. And so victim really comes from a place of powerlessness. And as long as you are blaming, others for your situation, as long as you are blaming others for where you are right now, as long as you are blaming others for how you're feeling, as long as you're blaming others of being trapped, then you are in victim mode. And we talk about that victim triangle, that we put ourselves right up there on that victim triangle, persecuting others, looking what they're doing to me. And I share the story all the time that the first time that I went to a really true codependency coach that knew all these things, and I went to her to have her give me advice about the terrible situation I was living in of my husband relapsing back into cocaine and crack and running around and not coming home and all the things that I was living with. And I went to her to try to find out, how can I get him to change, that I didn't have to live like this anymore, and tell her my woe story. And she said to me many things that were profound, but one of the things she said to me, that as in these types of situations, she said, Debbie, there are no victims, there's just volunteers, that you are choosing to stay in this situation and accept this behavior. And of course, at that time, I didn't understand that, because I felt I had children. I didn't know how to lead financially. Also, I didn't know anything about boundaries. I wasn't taught about boundaries in my home. We had none. So I didn't know that I could take care of myself. I felt so powerless over my life and my situation. Yes, I was powerless over the addict, but no, I was not powerless over me, my choices, how I felt, how I lived, how I handled the situation for me. And so that was huge, because I was not seeing myself as playing the victim. And so that is something really big for us to look at, that if we are always complaining, telling our story about what happened or what is happening, focusing on blaming the other person because of where you are or what's going on in your life, then you're playing victim. If you are allowing other people's behaviors and actions to affect your serenity, to affect your mood, to affect your choices in life, that it's all dependent on that person, then you are in victim mode. You're playing the victim. You're giving them all the power and all the control over your life. So really, the only way for us to work out of that victim habit of mentality is for us to start looking and taking responsibility for ourselves only, taking responsibility that we are responsible for our choices, our feelings, our future, how we want to feel, what we want in life. We are responsible. And looking at our responsibility too of why we are playing victim, and staying in that situation or staying stuck in that. And you'll find this in a lot of Al-Anon, a lot of Coda meetings, if they're not really healthy meetings. And I've seen through the years that people, a lot of the meetings, if they're not facilitated properly and there's not a lot of good recovery in the meetings, a lot of the meetings are a bunch of victims telling their story over and over of how bad they have it at home with their abuser, with their addict, with their child, or whatever's going on in their life. They stay in story constantly. And so that's another way to tell if that's a habit you have of playing victim, is that you're constantly staying in the story over and over and telling your story, and go by how you feel inside. Do you feel powerless over your life, or do you feel powerful over your life? So victim is a biggie. Did you want to say anything more about victim, Laura, before we move on or go into our meditation?
Yeah. When I feel myself like a stressful time, and I go to call my friend and start complaining, I know that's a red flag right there, that I'm playing victim. Like, why am I'm complaining because I put myself in a certain situation that wasn't my truth. And it's a bad habit to get into, and I used to do it a lot. Just go on the phone and complain. And your friends probably do the same thing. You listen to them as well. But it's important to check in with that and say, oh, why am I complaining so much? Why, what can I do to change it? And own it, own your truth, and be the change you wish to see in the world. I always go back to that quote.
I love that too. And, when we are stuck in complaining and playing victim and telling that story and feeling sorry for ourselves, it causes us to, gives us an excuse to stay angry at the person and persecute them. But it also keeps that story going. It's that energy, tell the story of what you want in your life, not what you don't want. If you don't want something, quit talking about it and thinking about it. Start talking and thinking about what you do want, not what you don't want. So before we get into our meditation, the last one, and this will flow really good right in with our meditation, is the last habit that I want to talk about that we can have which I call living horizontally. And living horizontally is a habit of thinking about the past and what could have been and having regrets, or maybe beating yourself up of choices that you've chosen or things you've done in the past. That's one side of it. The other side of the horizontal is worrying about the future and the what ifs, and wanting to control the future, and anxiety about the future. So living horizontally is thinking about the past, regretting the past, feeling bad about the past, and worried about the future. And when we do that, we're not present. So I like to teach clients to live vertically. And vertically is living in the now, right now, today. Right now, today, I am fine. Right now, today, I'm healthy. Right now, today, I have all of my needs met. Right now, today, I feel the presence of God. And so vertically is staying in present in the now, connected to spirit, which I choose to call God, but whatever your spirit source is, that you are connected to that spirit, centered, grounded in the now. And that's such a peaceful place to be. And when you catch yourself in that habit, you can be driving in your car or just doing things around the house, and you can, all of a sudden you'll catch yourself, have the awareness that I'm worried about next week, or I'm worried about next month, what's going to happen, or if they're going to change, or if my bills are going to be, whatever it is that you're worried about in the future. Or if you find yourself thinking about the regrets of the past and what could have been, then you're back horizontal thinking, and that's not a place of peace. It's not a place of serenity. It's not a place of being in touch also with your body and with your spirit. So when you find yourself doing that, just say, oh, there I am, living horizontally again. Let me bring myself back to vertical living, vertical thinking, present in right now, connected to spirit. And I'm going to turn it over to you now and let that be the end of our talking about habits and toxic. We didn't get through all of them, but we got through what we were supposed to get through today. And so, Laura, if you would just please lead us in a beautiful meditation of letting go. So if you have thought today and some of these things have touched you and brought things up in you and say, yeah, that's me, I do that, this is a habit I have, and you're wanting to let go of that. One of the things I like to do too is, not only we're going to do this meditation letting go, is that to write that down, and just write down, write to God, write to your angels, write to the universe and those that are guides and helping you, and just write a letter of what you're wanting to let go of. And then do something by intention. You can go out and burn it, you can bury it in the ground, you can put it in a balloon and watch it go up into the sky, but do an activity of something that is letting it go. And that is your intention. And then you can continue to move forward and work on that. So, Laura, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Okay.
Okay.
So much. So much.
Yeah.
So I'll ask everybody, if you have a phone nearby or some kind of distraction, just turn it off or flip it over, and give yourself permission for just maybe 3 to 5 minutes to be here now, in the moment, no distractions. Give yourself this time for you, okay? And then I'll ask you to close your eyes and sit in a comfortable seated position. Rest your hands on your lap, however it feels best. And take a nice deep breath in through the nose, filling the belly, the ribs and chest. Take an open mouth exhale out through your mouth. So as you sit here, can you lengthen the neck by drawing the crown of your head up towards the ceiling? Draw your shoulders back and down. And just allow yourself to feel calm, centered, and grounded. Again, inhale slowly, belly, ribs, chest. Open mouth, exhale, sigh it out. One more like that. Inhale through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. Good. Now with your mouth closed, I want you to notice if you're holding on to any discomfort. Do you feel any tension in your neck, in your face, in your shoulders? How is your lower back? How are your hips? Send some love, send some light to your whole body or anywhere it feels any discomfort. And then I'd like you to envision yourself jet skiing. So you're holding on to a rope, your feet are in skis, and the boat is taking you around a beautiful lake. And as you're going, you start to feel tension in your arms, in your body, and you feel like you can't hold on any longer. So eventually you have the courage or no other choice but to let go. And as you let go, you feel your feet relax, your arms and hands soften, and you feel the cool water over your face. Your legs release, and you feel at ease floating in the water. You've got a life vest on, so there's no more struggle. And you're just enjoying the stillness in the water. And as you lay floating, bring in this mantra. I let go, I release. I let go, I release. And inhale, I let go, I release. And just start to feel your shoulders and your fingers relax. And repeat that mantra, feeling at ease in the water. I let go, I release. And when you start to let go of that struggle, you float. It's the law. Just bring in that feeling into your body right now, this present moment, and allow yourself to feel at ease, completely letting go of any struggle. Just notice how that feels for you. Inhale, I let go. Open mouth, exhale, I release. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, I let go. Open mouth, exhale, I release. Last one, breathe into your heart center. Inhale, I let go. And open mouth, exhale, I release. And see if you can challenge yourself to take this feeling of ease and calm into the rest of your day. Knowing that you can let go of the struggle and things will happen with less effort and more ease today. Just watch how things unfold for you. And then let's all take our hands to heart center. Press your palms to touch. Bow your head to your heart, honoring the beautiful light within yourself and within each other. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you feel safe. May you walk with ease. May you find your freedom. And may all beings everywhere be loved and free. Namaste. Thank you, guys.
Namaste. That was beautiful, Laura. I loved it. Loved it.
Good.
Let's, in closing now, tell you all how you can reach out or get in touch with us. You can find out more about me and my work by going to my website. It is www.insideoutwellnesscoach.com, and that's insideoutwellnesscoach.com. I have a lot of things on there about my holistic life coaching and working with codependents. Also, you can friend me on Facebook, Debbie Sherrick, and I have a lot of private support groups on there and some Coda pages to help give you support. Also, I'm actually all over social media giving, offering a lot of support and free things for you to support you. I also do private coaching all over the world, one-on-one with codependency. So if that's something that you would need, thank you so much. The Empower Hour show is once a month, sometimes maybe twice. So thank you for joining today, and I hope that this topic today helped you in some way further down your path of your journey and blessed you. And I just bless you all with love. Thank you so much. Laura, you want to tell how they can get in touch with you, honey.
Sure. You can find me on Facebook. You can look up Laura Bliss Finder. Also, my website is yogabliss.info. I'm also on Instagram at Laura Bliss Finder. And you can message me and feel free to friend me on Facebook, and we'll keep in touch. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yes, I hope so too. And again, thank you for joining. And until next time, namaste.
Namaste.